let's get into this. And the first thing is, guys, and apologies if this is teaching my grandmother how to suck eggs, but this is vital. If you don't know your costs, you don't know where you need to set them. I'm not going to labor these points here because this should be business 101 when it comes to any business. Know the running costs for your drone, services and spares, your battery costs. I'm going to come into that on the next slide, actually. Your generator and fuel, depreciation, insurance. Insurance is a fairly heavy bill that we have to pay each year, and you don't get 365 days operating. So again, you need to apportion that. And your transport, your consumables, your PPE, your business overheads. But what I would say here, guys, I'm not going to spend 5 minutes on each of these, otherwise we'd run the hour down on this one slide, is be honest with yourselves. If you are not honest about the costs that you are incurring, the costs that you have in your business, or if you're running the business from home, in your home life, whether it be internet services, electric bills, be absolutely transparent with yourself. Put them on this list, because otherwise you will only wonder why you're not making money. But when I chat to people and ask, what are you sort of looking to achieve as a basic figure? Very often we're sort of getting prices in the £1,500 to £2,000 mark, which is where people, I've not given anyone any sort of coaching. It seems to be the sort of price people are coming back to say, look, this is what we'll get out of bed for. This is the sort of rate at which we begin to make money, cover all of our costs. So I'm going to use the figure of £2,000 as we move forward in some of the illustrations that I give you here. But just one little point that was just a point on that last slide where was, in the UK, we're currently limited to 1,000 cycles on our batteries. Your batteries are your biggest cost and potential consumable in your drones. And from the renewal date, which for us is in December, so this is when anyone who's operating on ROSC, when this will come in, we're going to move to a good health position where we remove this 1,000 cycle finite limit and say, as long as you're looking after your batteries and as long as the app tells you that they are in good health, you can continue to use them. Because when I speak to Jamie in Australia and the guys in Europe, they'll say, look, guys, I've got batteries here with 1,500 plus cycles on them running absolutely smoothly. And if we can achieve that, a critical point in achieving that is you can now enable the 20 to 90% charging cycle on your batteries, which is in your XAG1 app under the battery tab on the drone. You'll need to set this up for each pair of batteries that you put in, but you just set it up once. And this has two really useful advantages. In only charging up to 90%, it speeds up the whole process, because when you're charging a lithium-ion battery like this, it's the last 10% that always has to be trickle charged. And out of your 10-minute charge time, probably the last 3 minutes are that last 10%. So it will speed up your charging cycle. But the critical point is, if you're using that battery between 20 and 90%, that's the battery's happy zone. So it will really make a difference. And just to sort of illustrate how this might affect costs on two extremes. So I've done shading and cover cropping. So typically on a shading job where you're putting 600 litres a hectare, we're using a 50-litre tank, it means you've got 12 cycles on your sets of batteries. Now, a pair of batteries is 3,600 quid. So divide that by 1,000. So your typical cost, the cost every time you charge that set of batteries has been 3,000. Sorry, just a few more people to admit here. £3.60 per charge per set of batteries. Now, for a hectare of glass, that quickly adds up. And you can see there, £43.20 a hectare just in battery depreciation. And if we can move to this new good health and get 1,500 cycles, that price is going to drop to £28 a hectare. Now, that is where it's most acute, where you're dealing with very heavy application rates. But if you come down to something simple like the cover crops, where you're perhaps doing 2 or 3 hectares per flight, so a third of a cycle per hectare, your battery usage is costing you £1 a hectare. But again, if we can move to this good health scenario, you'll be down at 70p a hectare. And of course, what you will get, guys, is everything in between that. So whether you're at 50 litres, 100 litres, 200 litres a hectare, you've got the ability and the calculator to be able to work out how your battery cost is figuring in there. But it's really useful that you have that sort of knowledge, just your instant recall, because I've had some people talk about, and I'm sure Simon will mention it later, some really silly prices bandied around. There are reasons why we don't want to go down there. You might think you're making money, but you're not when you consider your sort of total overheads. But I will flash through a couple more slides. And again, knowing the job sounds absolutely basic, but you've got to ask yourself, why does the client want to use the drone? Before you discuss anything about pricing, ask them why they want to use the drone. Ask them how they do the job conventionally, because they may have some issue that you're not aware of, which will have a real impact on costing. And the crucial point is every farmer thinks about the cost to them, but what you have to do, turn the conversation around to is, what is the cost of not doing this job? What is the cost of not getting your fertilizer on when the plant needs it? You're waiting for the ground to become suitable for traveling so you don't produce ruts. What's going to be the impact of that? Or you're waiting to put your cover crops in and you've got to wait an extra 2 or 3 weeks. What's the impact and what's the cost going to be? Of course, guys, again, this is 101. What's the terrain like? What is access like? Who supplies the product, the fertilizer, the seed, or the plant protection product? This comes from bitter experience. I was 8 hours up the motorway to a job in Inverness, just checking that everything was to order. It was in order, and the client said, well, the seed hasn't actually arrived yet. So this is from bitter experience, guys. And of course, you want to know how many hectares. And critically, the number one thing is, what is your application rate? Because if you don't know your application rate, then you really can't start the job at all. The next one, I'll keep it really quick. It's about logistics. I'm happy to share these slides with you if you'd like them anyway, just to save taking notes, or you can see the recordings. But location and travel time is important. Most contractors will operate within a 2 to 3 hour radius of base. We're slightly different, is we'll spend 10 hours getting to site and then 10 hours getting back, because they're experimental sites. A critical factor is how many movements of your drone and of the trailer, how many relocations per field. The shot on the right there where Andy is filling up 3 generators, and we had a very inefficient setup at that point. It really taught us a very, very valuable lesson. And where will you get your water, your fertilizer, your seed? Is the farmer going to supply those? Is he expecting you to collect those from the farmyard? Again, just be aware of these. For those in agriculture, this will be second nature. For those who are relatively new to this, this will be something that you may not consider. Make sure this product has arrived before you, the stuff is on site before you leave. Otherwise, you will become very frustrated, as I have. And also, again, guys, most of our jobs tend to be multiple day jobs, and we have to factor in accommodation, and critically the distance of that accommodation from the location where we're working, because in many cases the locations, we're in very remote locations where it might be an hour and a half from the B&B to get to the site where we're working, so it can mean some pretty long days. The other point is, you must know your work rates for your drone. Again, guys, if you don't know this like the back of your hand, you're walking into meetings unprepared, and that is absolutely crucial. So the tank capacity and flight cycle time. I'm going to do this very briefly, and I'm going to base this on a high volume liquid job. If you are spraying something like paint or liquid fertilizer, you'll fill your drone up, it will take off. And say it takes 30 seconds to take off and get to its spraying position. You've got 30 seconds. You want that tank empty as quickly as possible. So let's allow 3 minutes for that. Then it's going to run out, it's going to come back and land again, another 30 seconds. So there's 4 minutes. I would then allow 1 minute for your pit change, so battery change and liquid granular fill. And that is that's your flight cycle time. So I've got a 5-minute flight cycle time, which is what I'm going to base these examples on. And this allows you to calculate your work rate. So on a shading job, 600 litres a hectare, 12 litres a tank, 5 minutes per tank. It's pretty simple maths that. It's 60 minutes per hectare. Now, guys, that is an optimal rate. That is if you are working smoothly, you've got a good tank filling system. I've seen people who take 5 minutes to fill the tank when it lands, Peter. It means then that if you know that that's your flight cycle time, if you're doing an 8-hour day, you might manage 8 hectares in a day if it's a reasonable site. So these are not, so at £2,000 per day, it means your absolute minimum charge is £250, but that is not what that job is worth to the client. So these are not the figures that you're going to charge the client. This is what that job is costing you to deliver. So this is what you have to be careful of. Is I'm giving you here the figures that you will have in the back of your mind that says, I never want to get close to these rates. I always want to be above these rates, and I want to be as far above these rates as I can do. But you have to know the basics in order to get there. So let's look at a liquid fert job, 200 litres a hectare. Maybe Jack will give us some insight into this in a bit. So 4 tanks per hectare. You've got 5 minutes a tank. So it's 20 minutes per hectare, which gives you a potential to hit 3 hectares per hour. Obviously, it's lovely if you can drop your water rate down a bit. So in an 8-hour day here, which I know is only a half day for you, Jack, you could possibly get 24 hectares done. And so again, you need to be thinking that your minimum rate should be in that, no lower than £84, because that's getting you your £2,000 a day. If we do drop this down to 100 litres a hectare, I won't labour the point now because you'll see it very clearly. If you can reduce your water rate down to 100 litres, well, great. You can work much quicker. You're now getting 48 hectares done. And guys, the maths won't surprise you when we get to 50 litres a hectare. But these changes are absolutely crucial to your productivity and will make all the difference in how you charge your rates, how you make your money, and how satisfied your customer is. But what you have to remember is the application rates there must not have a negative impact on efficacy. And you will actually, we've arranged to do quite a bit of testing work on that over the coming years. So again, but I hope this is the sort of information that we'll share with one another. And I'm going to motor on quite quickly here because I just want to get this wrapped up. A key, so we can open up the questions to you guys. We need to know what the customer knows. What is the starting point for your customers? And the National Association of Agricultural Contractors publish their pricing for us all to see, and you can download this PDF. And here's a perfectly good example here, grass seed broadcast. Well, this will be going on at maybe 30 kilos a hectare, and they wanted to charge, or they're suggesting you charge £34 a hectare. But if you've done your work a couple of slides higher up there, where you said, look, guys, why can't you do this? Well, the ground's absolutely soaking, or the ground is steep, or we've already got a crop in the field, so we can't travel at the moment. You don't get anywhere near this £34 a hectare charge because they've already said we can't do it the conventional way. So you must know what your customer knows when you walk in, as well as having your mind full of those calculations so that you know how long that job's going to take. Because I guarantee that pretty much every job you do in agriculture will involve a little bit of give and take and a little bit of negotiation. Now, I'm going to make this point, and I'll make it just once now, is the price that the customer is willing to pay is how much that job is worth to them. And you have to balance the price that you quote them with the health and safety problems that they face, or with the access problems that they face, because the job is worth, one job will be worth dramatically different things to different people. A farmer that's well set up, that has well-drained land, does not want to pay any extra for a drone, and neither should he. He's already set up to do the job. But for those who are on marginal land or wet land or steep land, there is a premium to pay for the drones. And this isn't price gouging, guys. This is the draw of the market. And remember, you've only got one drone. You want it to be doing the work that is most profitable for your business. So here are just a few examples. We're all familiar with glass shading, and the price should remain at £1,500 a hectare. Forestry seeding, broad range of work here, and it depends on the aggressive nature of the terrain that you're in. You know, on one of the jobs Andy and I did, we had 12 minutes of flying to complete the job, but 8 hours of logistics in getting to the site. And actually, for most of those, we don't charge a hectare rate, we charge a flat day rate, because it's all about the logistical challenge. Liquid fert and granular fertilizer. Now, there's a bit of a broad range here, but I know guys are charging 170 quid a hectare for 200 litres per hectare, where there are real challenges. But again, depending on how much weight you're putting down, there's a fairly broad spectrum there. And again, I will come on to Jack in a bit, hopefully, and maybe he'll give us some insights onto that. Podstick, it's relatively new to the drone market, but the figure here was not based on anything other than the loss of crop based on the farmer doing it himself. The farmer happily admitted that he will lose 5% of his crop driving his high clearance, perfectly set up 30-meter boom through the crop, because it was such a good crop of oilseed rape, so tangled together, he knew he was causing irreparable damage just by trying to treat it. And so when we did the calculations, he was losing £75 per hectare by driving through it. Hey, I'll do the job for £75 a hectare, no problem. And we were doing that at 100 litres a hectare and getting lovely coverage. So again, it's not about the cost of doing the job, it's about what's the cost of either not doing the job, or what is the damage cost to the farmer. And of course, our perennial favourites, cover crops. There's a lot of cover cropping out there. And again, based on your grass seeding rates that we saw at £34, people seem to be they're charging anywhere from £25 to £75 is what I found through chatting to people. But if you are applying a cover crop, and this might be something like clover at 2.5 hectares, 2.5 kilos a hectare, I mean, crikey, it's a couple of bags of sugar that you're spreading over a hectare. You know, you can get an enormous amount of work done. And again, if you've got your £2,000 in the back of your mind as your minimum day rate, it allows you very quickly to sort of work out where you need to be. And the key point is ask if you're unsure. I was doing a job up in Fife with Scott. We were charging £45 for cover cropping to a farmer. And he said, took me to one side, said, you're way too cheap. You need to be at least £65 for this. He said, that's how much it would cost me to do this job. I appreciated his feedback. I hadn't done the one obvious thing, which was ask him, you know, what would it cost you to do this job? And of course, you're relying on the farmers being open with you, but that's where we need to get to. I'll be very quick now. Getting started, hold demo days. I don't know if James Cox is on the call. I know that Adam Cox is. But the photo at the top here was a demo at Ridgeway Sprayers. You've got probably 20, 30 farmers there who were looking at the drone. I know James took a number of orders that day just because he showed people how it works. Do a free of charge job for the farmer. You see the guys down in the picture below there with the vehicle in the background. They weren't the customer. They were just the farmer's mates who turned up to see it in action. And we took a couple of jobs away from that job simply because he'd invited his friends down to have a look. And put yourselves into onto the camera, get outside your comfort zone, because if you're not willing to get onto your social media, you are not going to thrive in this area unless you've got some amazing speciality. Attend your local shows. This is how I met Fraser, for example, at the Newport show, and moved forward. And you know, go and knock on doors. People tell you that nothing beats knocking on a door with a drone on the back of the pickup and saying, farmer or operator, what do you think of this? Isn't it amazing? And when they see it, it's so easy to spark up conversation. And guys, remember, I'm going to come on to in 1 second what's coming, but you need to be promoting what's coming in advance. This is a quick video that I'm only going to show you a few seconds of it that Fraser did, but it is a great example of the power of getting the farmer to do the talking for you. But basically, what Fraser's done here is he has brought the farmer into the field, and the farmer does the talking. And basically, what they're showing here is the difference between a crop that's gone in 3 or 4 weeks early and a crop that was drilled at 4 weeks or 25 days actually after the cover crop went in, and it's night and day. But because the farmer says it and the farmer shows the beats in his hand, it's a dramatic difference. And I was chatting with Sean Conroy, who I think is on the call, and he made a great illustration. He said, look, a week in July is worth 2 weeks in August, and a week in August is worth 3 weeks in September. And Fraser, who's in the picture here, said that the beets have now stopped growing. You know, the daylight hours are so short that the growing is done now. So all of that growing that they did in those first 3 weeks when it was planted beforehand, that's made all the difference. And these are the points that you need to be getting over to people when they are umming and ahhing about the pricing. And you need to be able to show videos like this. You know, and I'm sure Fraser won't mind getting a few views on his YouTube channel with this, because this is why we produce this social media, is so that you guys can share them and show them, show others what's doing. And Fraser, thanks for doing this. It's an absolute cracker. And it just shows, you know, we've had people like Hunter Pack Farming on saying, you don't realize how important that video is. It's a really great illustration, particularly in the driest summer that we've had in a long time. To get a crop like that is absolutely amazing. So well done, Fraser. This, I want to be an open forum now, and please raise your hands. Andrew, I see you've got a question there. So go ahead, Andrew Jacob.
Thanks, Rob. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions, really. The first one refers back to your point about the race to the bottom. And I was recently contacted by somebody who wanted me to do over 200 hectares on their behalf. And they were offering me £7.50 per hectare, which we all know, I think, we're honest with each other.
What sort of work? Cover crop?
Yeah, cover crop work. That's not a sustainable price. So my question is not so much about the self-awareness. I think we're all aware that that's not the sort of sustainable pricing that we need for the industry. It's a question for everybody, really, about how you see that sort of pricing and how you consider, or what your thoughts are about that sort of behavior by those of us within the industry doing this, because obviously it has an impact on everybody, primarily because the perception or understanding of potential clients is that, oh, well, this is cheap as chips, this is going to save us a lot of money. So that's my first question. And my second question is probably more for you, Rob, with regards to pricing and PPPs. So really useful, and thank you very much for that summary of what you consider pricing to be for the general run-of-the-mill stuff that we're doing. But when we're talking about PPPs and how we apply those, particularly with the idea, and you can maybe give us a summary on this, with the idea that XAG is going to be the only drone available to apply those PPPs, certainly in the first instance, whether or not there's going to be a premium pricing on that for when we go out and do this PPP work.
Guys, I'll start with the last question first, Andrew. Absolutely. Look, what we have to remember here, there is a difference between price gouging and the market setting the pricing. When the plant protection products, and let's start with the really simple ones like slug pellets. When it's slug pellet season as it is now, I imagine there are 5,000 fields having slug pellets applied to them right now. If the weather's dry, then no problem. The quad bike or the tractor will be doing a fine job. But as soon as you get a heavy weather spell and the farmer is resisting going in with his tractor, well, we can get in. These are premium services. We are not trying to compete with the existing self-propelled equipment that is out there, because why should we? The farmer already owns that equipment, or the contractor does. This is an alternative service that is going to reduce crop damage, it's going to reduce compaction, it's going to reduce ruts, and it is something that should not be judged on a like-for-like basis. But if you've got a good understanding of your minimum daily rate, see, for slug pelleting, you're putting 7 kilos a hectare down max. You will be covering, I would hope, 20 hectares an hour. Even if you were at 25 quid a hectare for that, 25 quid a hectare is £400-500 an hour if you're getting this right. If it's a big job, it's worth doing. You know, if you've got some large areas to cover, or if you've got steep areas to cover and it's smaller areas, your price goes up. But it's got to be a sliding scale, and it's got to be based on the farmer's need for this. If they can do it all the way, they should do it themselves. You know, and I would absolutely encourage them to do this. But we've got a number of contractors. Sean, who's on from Scotland, he was saying how he hates bollocking over the field on his quad bike, trying to put his slug pellets down at 15 meters per second, sorry, 15 kilometers an hour. Crikey, we're going twice that speed. We're only covering half the width, but we're doing it twice as quickly. And critically, one of the key things you've got to point out, Andrew, is we'll publish these spread data that we got for the slug pellets to show that this gives you a much more even spread. And also, this gives you a much better pellet integrity. Why is that important? Well, when pellets get wet, they break down. So if you can keep the pellets intact and non-fractured, they last much longer in the wet weather. I'll ask one to you, Jack. You and Henry did a job on your late stage maize and produced probably the internet's best video on this. What was that job like, and how much did you put down, and what rates were you applying it at?
Yeah, so hi everyone. With that job, we managed to, well, with all the maize that we did down in Wales, Henry managed to work with an agronomist down there who went back to the supplier of the foliar M we were using and said, can we apply this at a lower rate because it suits the drone better? So obviously bringing down our costs. So we were applying the foliar N at 50 litres a hectare.
Perfect.
Yeah, so, I mean, for our pricing with the maize, we got it wrong to start off with. We were going out at £10 a hectare, which just wasn't sustainable whatsoever for us boys. So then working alongside the agronomist, what we did was we figured out what percentage yield boost he would need to cover the costs of us going in. So on that big job where the video is, what we did is we did a control area. The farmer was happy with it, where there was probably, I don't know, a 10 metre wide by 50 metre long area that we didn't spray with the foliar N. Yeah. Just to prove that we were getting a decent yield boost for the farmer. So once you can prove to the farmers that you're going to be getting them, I don't know, a 10% yield boost or an 8% yield boost, and if your costs are only 3% of that total profit of the farmer on the tonnage of the crop, then they seem more than happy. So for us, it was just proving it, because farmers obviously they can be tricky to deal with, and they want facts and figures. So once we proved it to them and they heard it from someone they trust, i.e. an agronomist, they were more than happy.
Well, you see two things there, Jack. An excellent work. Number one is speak to the manufacturer and the agronomist, because reducing it down from 200 litres a hectare to 50 litres a hectare, geez, you know, it turns a job from impossible to profitable, which is exactly what you want to be doing. And yes, giving people figures. And in fact, this is what these are here, guys. These are some yield maps from, it was wheat. And the wheat without the fertilizer was yielding 6.56 tons per hectare. With the application, 7.3 tons with the late stage nitrogen on there. And that's, again, that makes it worthwhile for farmers, because when you can show evidence like that, then you know farmers are very, very practical and very sensible people. They will follow the money. And when will has that maize been harvested yet, Jack? Yeah, so that has been harvested. Like, we have been sent over the figures from the agronomist, because obviously from the area that we did the control patching. I can't remember what exactly they were, but there was a significant yield boost, and he was happy with the results, and will have us back again. Purely, we went to him just to do a little patch to start off with, and then he gave us an 80-acre block, and that's why we did the control patch then. And then just down in Wales, it was just word of mouth once, because it's all quite tight knit down there. Once one farmer knew that there was a drone in the area, we the phone didn't stop ringing. So we did have a really busy summer on the maize. But again, with the pricing side of things, compared to the glasswork it's a lot simpler than the maize in terms of logistics, because most of the farmers love obviously to get crops on every inch of the land. So even the gate holes were full of crops. So sometimes there was nowhere even for a takeoff and landing point. So them farmers that we're going to return to next year have said, look, we'll just leave you boys, I don't know, a 15 metre by 5 metre strip in the field,
before you take off landing area and stuff. Just little logistical things with the fields are a lot harder than like your glass, for example.
And of course, with maize, is how could they do this alternatively? They just can't do it, can they?
No, which was one of the things that the agronomist was really excited about, is because it is quite notorious down in Pembrokeshire for maize. They love growing it down there because of the soil. He'd never seen foliar nitrogen go on at such a late stage in the crop's life cycle. So, and then again, it was just monitoring and proving to the farmers the tonnage rates and sort of what results we were getting now. Now that we've done that, everyone will sort of have us back, and then you can up your price. So.
Evidence, you can show people the you can show people why it's worth paying the price. Well, Jack, really appreciate your insights on that, and congratulations. The video, by the way, absolutely superb.
Cheers. There's a bit of language in there, but we like to keep it fun, I guess. But
what a shame you're not as good looking as your brother, Jack. That's the
and mate, it's horrible. He's got. I'm 30 tomorrow, but I look about 40. It's because Henry had an easy paper round. He's done nothing all his life. He's only just started now.
Can I just ask what price you if you've gone from the £10, what price are you going to aim at for next year?
So what we did, obviously, because every job was different, so we made a pricing structure on Excel. So we put in there just a few simple bits of, so our overheads, we like to think that we'll be flying 100 days of the year. So we obviously made our overheads divisible by 100 days, plus my wages, plus Henry's wages, fuel, generator fuel, etc., etc. And then pretty much how the pricing structure worked is the more acres they've got, the better it works out for them. But then if it was a job that somebody just wanted, say, 30 acres of maize doing, and it was all in one field, we'd look at it and we'd run it through the pricing structure. And if we could afford to stick a little bit more on, and we had to take some off to get the job, we'd do that. So I think in the end, we were probably, again, all depending on the job, how many moves you got to do, is probably anywhere between 17 and 30 pounds an acre. But that again, it all depends. We went one
acre. Sorry,
acre. But then this was after. So we went and agreed to a load of farmers £10 an acre to start off with. But then obviously we tried to go back to the farmers and say, we're not making any money here, we're gonna have to up the price, and they were like, no, you've agreed it for £10, so we had to honour that.
And look, at £10 an acre, that's 25 a hectare. And if you've got your rate from 200 litres, you're not a million miles away from beginning to be profitable there. But absolutely, if you can be doing 17 to 30 an acre, well, great. And just out of interest, was it who were you using for your fertilizer supply? Was it coming direct from Omex?
No, it was through the agronomist.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I just wondered how flexible people were on, making specific mixes for people.
Yeah, I'm not. To be fair, I'm not too sure. He just Henry was smart. To be fair, just went and got in bed with the agronomist down there, and he's a nice guy and sort of helped us out quite a bit. So we just had to
Jack, can I just confirm? So £20 an acre, is that not £48 a hectare?
It is.
It all for us, but it all depended on the job. Like if it was.
No. I thought Robert said it was £25.
It is at £10
yeah,
an acre.
Anywhere between 17 and 30 pounds an acre. We were going out. Again, depending on the site. If there's a farmer there that's got 100 acre blocks, we can obviously do it cheaper per acre because it's all in one block. There's no moves. Whereas if they've got 100 acres but there's 10 different fields, the day is probably a 2-day job.
Rob, we've got 6 minutes. I'd really like to hear from our friend in Pakistan who's been to ask a question here.
Cheers, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Alpha.
Okay, and here is one thing is about the pricing that you want to calculate the cost of running this business is how you can maintain your drones. This is a very crucial point, that if you are good at maintaining your drone and if you know that how you can fly your machines well, then you can save a hell of money. For example, like I just sell about 15 units to other companies here in Pakistan, but they're not good in engineering and they're not good in maintenance. For example, if you are not good in maintenance, maybe you have to change your sprinter motors every 200 hectares. But if you are good in, you know how to maintain, how to give them proper oiling and how you can maintain your pumps, especially the spray system, then you can run that spraying system long above to 2,000 hectares. This is the main point, that if you are good and if you don't know much about your drone, and if you are far away in the fields, if there is small maintenance problem occur, then you can waste a hell of money, hell of time actually.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you guys, I don't know in UK you have a sugarcane fields or not, but here sugarcane is a very major market in Pakistan, and it's a huge business to doing spraying with drones on sugarcane, because on the last stage we have mega, you can say that very big damage through the Parela attack on the sugarcane. Same like we had some fungicide problems on the last stage of wheat and rice, and especially maize. And the final stage of maize, we have like a fall army attack. And I did my major work and my major experiences depend on the sugarcane and the maize crops, the high rise crops.
Yeah.
So where the other farmers don't have any other solution, then you can give them the drone solution, and you can earn a good money. Whatever you will ask, they will pay it. So even though some of the maize fields, we did some follow me spraying, even though at that stage it also increased the pollination process due to the air distribution in the field, in the dense fields. So that gives you can see the very vast difference between the spraying and non-spraying fields.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm calling you Alpha Robotics. What's your first name?
Adnan.
Adnan. Well, look,
Yes.
thank you. I appreciate your experience there. And actually, one of the things that you mentioned there about sugar beet brings me on to, well, you talk about sugar cane. We talk sugar beet in this country.
Okay.
And pricing is really very tough at the moment. In fact, I was speaking again to Sean up in Scotland. They were saying people are being battered on pricing. If we have a product that we've been asked to do some testing on, guys, for potato and beets, and it's for protection from heat stress.
Exactly.
So if anyone has got, now of course, this is not the season for it, we're talking here about next season, but if anyone has got sugar beet customers or potato customers who would be interested in doing some, again, I'd like to do this A/B testing. So one field with the protection, one field without the protection. A manufacturer who's really keen to try their crop protection product. But the good thing is, guys, no map number. So
we also have some experience. We sprayed some PepsiCo Lay's potato fields. We did some micronutrient spraying on the potato fields. It's the same like leaf micronutrients against the heat stress. So I will share some data against them. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I also share a buyer calendar spraying chart on my LinkedIn page. If you guys means it's a complete whole year buyer product chart. Means for what disease, what kind of spray you can do with the drones.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
On your LinkedIn page.
Yeah, I will share it. I will share it. Or you can just go to my LinkedIn profile and you can download the PDF file.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for joining us on that.
Guys, technically we're out of time. I don't mind hanging on for as long as you guys do. So Simon, do you have another question, or is this your previous question? You're on mute, by the way.
You said about pre-advertising the slug pellets, and I'm guessing the solar panel polytunnel cleaner.
Yeah.
What I mean, I guess there's a couple of things. One is, do we have any sort of imagery that we can share and all use? So there's a bit more of a kind of generic kind of advertising. The other thing is, what pricing are we looking at in terms of, because if we do generate inquiries, people are going to ask, we need to be able to answer them.
Yeah.
So what sort of cost are we looking at in terms of product that they're going to need, you know, per hectare? And then what are we looking at charging?
We're not quite that far down the line yet. We've done the trial. We're awaiting approval on it. My take on it, what I'm charging, I'm sticking at £1,500 a hectare. And I would suggest you could do the same. I'd hope that Andy can get us approval. HSE said 2 to 3 months from having done the trial. We did the trial end of September. So that says to me, hopefully before Christmas, we'll find out. But in terms of the product, I don't think the actual final, I mean, it's made by Surface Welcome. I think DJEX are very interested in the distribution of it. If you try and buy it on Amazon at the moment, it's about 75 quid for a litre. Whereas if you're buying it commercially through Agrigem, it's around £45 a litre.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think in a 5 litre container, we can get some sensible pricing with that.
And actually, Pete, we'll have a chat to some of the suppliers and see if we can get it in 300 litre IBCs, which will make mixing much easier. But Simon, so on the biocide side, absolutely. Let's start. Remember, this is about market forces. There isn't a solution to clean your polytunnels as they stand. So start with the rate that is understood as being productive at 1,500 quid. Now, you are applying 250 litres per hectare instead of 600. So if you can get £1,500 per hectare, happy days, because you'll be doing it 3 times quicker than you were previously. However, if there needs to be some negotiation, then do so. But what I would absolutely do today, I would go on Amazon, I would buy a couple of litres of the material, I would mix it up at the correct rate into a plant spray bottle, and I would go and visit your local polytunnel growers and say, look guys, I'm just going to spray the side of this one with a bit of liquid. I'll give you a call in 2 weeks' time. We'll have a look at it after you've had a little bit of time for it to take effect and for the rain to take the the algae off. And I think that will be one of your most effective ways of selling. Or if they've got flagstone
for months for you, Si.
Sorry,
I've suggested that to you for the last 3 months.
Yeah, no, I've got it. I bought it.
Have you been over and done it?
No.
Honestly,
No further questions.
I think it'd be a great opportunity, Simon. But it just shows them how it's done. And then just say, look, guys, I'm just going to spray it now and leave it. I'll give you a shout in 2 weeks. You tell me if it's worked or not, and put the ball into their court. Graham, sorry, I'll try and work through these reasonably quickly. Graham, far away, mate. Where are you?
Hi, mate. Yeah, just really quickly, going back on something you mentioned earlier on, you said you're able to put clover on at 2 kilograms a hectare, right?
It's what we've been asked to do in the past, yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that? Because we were trying to do that with I think we had a medium auger in, and the lowest we could get it down to.
No chance, Graham. No chance.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, 2.5 kilos a hectare is unheard of rates, really. But with the small auger, you can get down to 1 kilo a hectare, no problem at all. The difference between the medium and the small augers is dramatic. The only thing is, you've just got to be careful when using the small auger that you're not using something chaffy like grass seed, because we've I know Fraser's on here. He locked his augers up really tight by trying to put grass seed through the small auger. So you just got to be careful of that. But the small stuff like clover, like oilseed rape, absolutely spot on for the small auger. And I think in the we had that issue where you needed the medium auger because you were doing some cover cropping work. You've got to have the right auger for the right product. Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. As long as it can be done, that's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. You can get down to a kilo per hectare and less when you need to, Graham. No problem at all, mate.
Okay, thanks, man.
Cheers, mate.
I just want to say something, Rob, before we go on, because I know we're going to finish shortly. Somebody said before, Simon's been on about FAB. Its features, advantages, and benefits. It's kind of key basic selling skills that it's. And what Rob's saying, I just want to back it up by saying, You know, we are to a certain extent working to niche markets here. And as Rob said, why does the farmer want to talk to you in the first place? I'm talking to growers every day. And the simple fact with a polytunnel that's growing soft fruit, there's no other bloody way of doing it. You can't walk on top of the polytunnel. And I only came across that purely by accident at a show where I was focusing on greenhouses. And I asked about polytunnels and I said, do you clean them? He said, no. And I asked why. He said, well, how are you supposed to do it? Now, some may say, well, they take those tunnels down in the winter. It's just not feasible to clean them by hand. Believe me, I've been on enough sites now and asked the question. It is by far and away a complete and utter no-brainer to clean these tunnels by drone. We've got the right product coming up. I've spoken to a couple of clients recently who tried by drone with the wrong product and didn't get a result, and it kind of put them off. But as for an application method, you're never going to beat drone with that.
Yeah,
it's a complete no-brainer.
Peter, could I just ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Steve.
So when you're going on site, these polytunnels, are they not fairly green with algae, like because they've never been touched for such a long time? So is it worth recommending that they need to be contact cleaned first before going on with a drone, or is
it is a good idea? I mean, some of them we've just been up to some sites in northeast Scotland. They haven't been cleaned for 9 years. It is unbelievable to think. And I mean, I actually made the statement. I've always been led to believe that more light on a tunnel equates to more yield. And clearly you guys are proving me wrong in Scotland, because you haven't cleaned them inside or out for 9 years. What's all that about? And the answer is they want to, but they don't. So if you think by cleaning them manually, they might be able to do that inside, but how do they do that outside? How do they clean it manually? And some of them, believe it or not, and they're going to find, my friend in Pakistan's going to think we're going crazy when I say this, but they have a great big piece of ship rope that they dangle in a reservoir, and they throw it over the top to their mate, and they drag it along the top and run all this sludge along the top of the polytunnels. I mean, this is 2025. This is it's I spoke to one the other day who'd been trying to use white vinegar. It doesn't work. Simple as that. It needs a good bias side like Sapphire Pro, proven and tested. But whatever you put on, Stephen, if they haven't had it cleaned, and you'll never walk onto a fruit grower's site where he wants the lot doing, because he'll say that they're only a year old over there. These are 2 years old. They're all right at the moment. These ones are 3 years, 4 years old. They need a bit of a cleanup. And occasionally, like this year, we had a very early spring. These guys have never thought about putting shading products on a polytunnel. Well, now they realize that that's really, really important to do. The fruit ripened way too quickly this year, and they're losing fortunes on their yield. The crop's worth about £1.30 a kilo. It's not worth selling it for that, so they scrap it. They need the strawberries to be bigger and not to ripen so quickly, and shading will delay that growth by 2 months. And this is just an educational. I mean, who the hell am I to educate fruit growers who've been growing strawberries for 40 years? I'm not, but I can tell you, Lumaforte are pretty excited about the idea.
And Pete, one of the key things is they replace their polytunnel on a fairly regular basis, 4 to 5 year cycle typically. So, Stephen, one of the things that you should be promoting to them is to say, look, guys, what you want to do is, this is a new concept. This is a new way of doing it. Maintain it, keep it clean, do this every year. Year one, it goes up, it's lovely and clean. At the end of that year, get it cleaned, so that when you hit your year two, you're starting with the same 100% transmission capacity that you had at the beginning. And then, Stephen, it becomes an annual quick job that you can go and do. You can get them under contract. You will be there every year, first week of March or whenever it's going to be, and get this done for them. Or alternatively, you'll be doing this winter. This is a great winter job, this, because you want to wet it and then let the rain do the work.
Here's the facts for you, Stephen. Sorry to cross over, Rob. Here's the facts for you. That 8,000 tons of polythene from polytunnels goes to waste recycling every year. That was told to me by the owner of Haygrove. He's the biggest polytunnel supplier in the country. And you would think he wouldn't want to tell me that. But as he says himself, we've got one planet and we've got to do something about it. The other thing is, the other side of the coin is, by cleaning the tunnels, he, not I, he believes you would prolong the life of those tunnels by 1 to 2 years. The cost of replacing those tunnels is somewhere in the order of £10,000 to £12,000 per hectare. So is it not worth protecting it? Do you not want more strawberries? Do you not want the fruit to ripen at the appropriate time? And I'll just finish by saying, as a very prolific soft fruit grower in Scotland told me, everything you're telling me, Peter, is common sense. But the trouble with common sense, it's not very common sometimes. They just don't think about it.
And what we'll do, Pete and Stephen, is we will. I love the idea of these FABs, these sheets that we can have, that we can all be singing from the same hymn sheet. So what we'll do, we'll get these up on the website that you guys can download and use. Again, sorry, Alpha. I know you've had your hand up for a while there. You're on mute, by the way.
There you go.
Okay. I want to ask that in UK, you also have some regulations about this much volume you have to spray. You can use only this much volume against that pesticide or fungicide.
Yes, we do, but in fact, absolutely it is. We have to stay with the label. What it says on the product label, we have to stay with that.
No,
but,
sorry, actually label, mostly we have the pesticide, like they will mention that with the hand sprayer or with the boom sprayer, you have to spray this much volume. But what I do, I'm just made a chart according to my experience that this much ULV formulation, ultra low volume formulation it can give the best results against this pesticide. I made it by myself.
But the problem we face is we cannot spray any pesticide here. No pesticides, no herbicide, no fungicides yet. So we are many years behind you in this process.
Yeah.
At the moment, we are fertilizers, we are seeds, we are cleaning products. There is great excitement because the first fungicides and pesticides will be authorized for the drone this year. And this is what we're all very excited about. So yes, once we are doing that, I am sure water rates will fall down. But remember, we have very
I'm still using the P30s and XP 2020 because we don't have right now we don't have any ministry in Pakistan, and drones are banned to import in Pakistan. Basically, what I am doing, I'm just importing these drones in parts and reassembling it here, and because of the limitation of the volume tank, I'm still using like 5 to 6 liter per acre the pesticide, and it is giving the absolutely very, very nice results.
We would like to get there, but we have such tight regulation in the UK that first we have to do is at the label rate, and then have to demonstrate that the efficacy does not reduce the volume, but we are working on that.
But because you can reduce a hell of money. It means operating cost if you have to spray the less volume, and you can get a good results. Yes,
it's faster, it's less efficient.
Even though on rice for the insecticide, I spray only 3 liter per acre, only 3 liter, and it gives very fantastic results.
We hope we can follow that example in due course.
We need Donald Trump, that's all. That's the easy answer, surely.
Well, guys, look, are there any other questions before we take a well-earned break and go and get some lunch?
It's a dinner time.
I've got one, if that's all right.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
So what's everyone using for like mixing like on the trailer? Have they got like an IBC and a mixing setup, or is there a common machine or equipment?
The only common setup really so far today has been either based around shading works and mixing paint for greenhouses, or the removal agent for greenhouses, or it's been for fertilizer, liquid fertilizer. Typically with liquid fertilizer, the farmer will turn up with his big sprayer and we'll just fill from that. So no, it's been rather sort of ad hoc at the moment, Stephen, but because you're getting to the plant protection product side of things are going to have to tighten up very considerably. James Braid has just bought a very nice sort of mixing unit, which does that very, very nicely. We're also working with people on a closed transfer system, which will allow you to mix without any exposure, because the critical concern from the health and safety executive is, look, if you are filling your drone every 5 minutes, we need to make sure the operator is well protected. Whereas a tractor, you're just filling up twice a day, for example. So there is, we're moving that risk around. But fortunately, with the recent report from PricewaterhouseCoopers on their net risk, we're showing how we can reduce all of these risks. So no, Stephen, there isn't a standard at the moment, but one will quickly emerge as the market. Go on, Simon, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what one thing that's been mentioned a few times is just having a LinkedIn group. I think, somewhere for people to talk and chat. Generally, you can have a closed group, so nobody outside.
LinkedIn better than a WhatsApp then? Yeah, probably.
I think it probably is.
Anyone else?
Sorry guys, by the way, I have a WhatsApp group. I'm running that group from last 2 years, and we have more than 120 plus companies at all the XAG distributors and the operators in that group.
Yeah.
If you guys want, I can add you guys in that group, and we often share all the ideas and about the maintenance, about the problems in that group.
Yeah, if you could put your number on.
Okay.
LinkedIn,
I'll-
that'd be great. So the
Okay.
other thing I was going to say is Kev's raised his hands like loads of times.
Oh, sorry, Kev. It's not up at the moment, Kev.
I keep getting knocked back, so I decided to cut loose.
Go on, tell us, Kev. What do you want?
Just one of the things that we're working on at the moment is we're looking at the trailers that people have been using and been configuring. And one of the things that we're in the process of doing is putting together a collection of components that can be built into trailer, which will allow adaptation to work for growth. IBCs for doing spraying and spreading on greenhouses. So spraying on greenhouses and spraying removals, and also for mixing products for PPPs, whether it be dry or it be wet. We've come up with a solution. We're just in the process of just putting the final touches to that, and then we probably have a demonstration unit within the next 3 or 4 months.
Month?
Lovely.
Well, and we'll also build a specification. We'll share that specification. But if people want it, when we sell the drone, we can sell them. We can go out to business, out ready to rock and roll.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Kev. And certainly, if it's as funky as your trailer setup, then it'll be great. It's the envy of us all. So, well, look, guys, thank you very much for sticking around. I've certainly found it enjoyable. This has been a little, well, I'm just going to call it relaxed, our approach to this, but I think it's worked well, and I hope you guys have found it productive. So thank you very much indeed. I appreciate all your input. Thanks again, Pete and Kev, for joining in there. But from everyone's questions, and for those that are sort of on this course already, and those who are sort of looking to get involved, thank you very much. And again, thanks to Alpha Robotics for their input. It's great to get an international.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, everyone. Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Guys. Take it easy.
Thank you
All
now.
right.
Bye, guys.